a living history production.
Hi, and welcome to Peter Hart's Military History Podcast. History Podcast, live from Gallipoli.
Dun, 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 dun.
And I'm here with my great friend.
Great front.
I'm going to put my teeth back in. Hang on, listeners. Right. Hello, and welcome to Peter Hart's Military History Podcast.
So, here we are in Gallipoli. As believe it or not, we've not been drinking. So, it's been a testing day in some ways, Gary. I mean, for you especially, with your inability to speak throughout the entire day.
Yeah, I seem to be running in Shergar's teeth. Oh dear. Oh well. Anyway, it was a different day today, Pete. We got up nice and early, had early breakfast.
What was that?
Well, we were having a bit of a journey today. We were heading off to get to the port in time to get off to Imbros.
The ferry.
The ferry. We changed the day around. On the advice of our partners in Turkey.
Oh, they told us that. They told us that if we went on Saturday, we wouldn't get on the ferry.
They told us we wouldn't get on the ferry.
We wouldn't get on the ferry, they said, if we went on Saturday. So if we went on Friday.
Yep, so it was. We were looking forward with great anticipation. The day started with a different coach, which confused us, but we was told, no, we've thought ahead and we've got the coach in the queue.
That's right.
So we got there, changed coaches, watched the ferry load, and then watched it sail away without us.
But we were miles behind.
We were the last vehicle in the queue not to get on. So, sorry, the first vehicle.
That was a bit unlucky, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a bit. So then, let's head off to Etiabat, and we'll get across. We got Plan B, which was a day in Kumkali. Great plan.
Kumkali and Okinaya Fort and all that. Yeah, lots
great
to
plan.
do. Great plan, wasn't it?
Yeah, then we missed the ferry from Etiabat. It had gone by the time we got there. So we'll head up to the ferry at Kilid Bahia.
Nothing could go wrong.
We joined the queue. We moved with great excitement.
We moved with increasing great excitement.
And then the ferry left 3 vehicles in front of us.
No!
Yep.
I remember that happening. I remember thinking, well, oh dear, listeners, I thought.
But the major advantage was there was going to be another ferry in 10 minutes because they were no longer working to a timetable. And we got on it.
Well, that was a surprise to us all by this time.
Unfortunately, it sank.
No, it didn't.
Oh, no, sorry, that's in my imagination. So, we got across to the Asian side of the Straits, which is Chinakale. And then we, on the way down to Kumkali, we went to an observation point that we didn't realise was there last time.
No, we didn't. It was just past Dartmouth. In fact, just before you get to a big bridgey thing.
A big bridgey thing?
Yes, well, technical terms, I know they fool you. But it was a fantastic view across to Achibaba and to Kilid Bahia. And everyone was quite excited by that, took photographs, and the mood was gradually moving from one of amused resignation to actual excitement and enjoying a great day, which is what was going to happen.
Well, it gave a different perspective. People could see the lighthouse at Helles, they could see the Helles Memorial, the Turkish Memorial, and they could actually sort of plot the route that they'd been travelling on 2 and 3 days before. You could see the heights of Achibaba. Good. And so I think it was really good to get that perspective. Yeah,
and it was funny because Duddle said that if you were doing a military group, you'd probably start from over there so they could get the outline. And in some ways, but not for a civilian group in the sense that you want to get stuck into the landing rather than looking at the overview first. But it was good, and we went on from there. Drove through. Troy to our left, which a lot of us couldn't spot properly.
Which means windy.
Windy, it does. Take me back to the windy city.
Doesn't quite go, does it?
No.
Just got in from the Troy city.
Same sort of thing. You do like Doris Day, though. You mentioned that several times.
Yeah. James Thompson reminds me of her.
Yes, he has that. It's the way he walks, I think, mainly, and the fact that his flies are at the moment broken. So where were we?
Well, we made a brief stop, didn't we? We went through the new Carly.
That's right.
And then we stopped at the cemetery.
Oh, that's good. Now that's a cemetery on a. It's not a big hill, is it?
No,
but
not at all.
it's got a tactically significant position overlooking the ground between Okanaya Fort and Kumkali Fort.
Yeah.
And from there we went through the French campaign. We pointed out that the French are actually facing just not a very strong force at all in the actual landing, but that within easy reach were several battalions who attacked them very hard that night. And we pondered on the British character, which was basically that the French had to attack there because the British couldn't have the Turks firing into their backs for one day while they captured Achi Baba. When they failed to capture Achi Baba, it was perfectly all right for the French to have them firing into V Beach and their right-hand side all through the campaign. And we pondered on that a little.
But you made a very good point, Peter. The French were professional, seasoned campaigners throughout their history. They'd probably been involved in more wars than we had. So they understood the significance of what they were doing, both on the 25th of April and then subsequently the position of honour that they were granted by the British on the right.
So we chatted about that, and that was it. I've been to that cemetery before, but they've cleared it, and I really enjoyed that this time. I felt the trenches were clear, well defined. Yeah. You could see what they could see at the time. You could look over. You can't visit the Kumkali Fort, and a lot of people ask why not. It's because it's still a military observation, a military area, and you're just not allowed there under any circumstances. So you cannot go to the old Kumkali Fort.
And as Bulent said, the army still plays a significant role in Turkish society. So, they do have areas where civilians are not permitted.
And fair enough.
Yep.
That's their country. Now, so where do we go next? Well, we went to Okanaya Fort.
Well, if I could stop you, if I may.
You may.
You also pointed out, and I thought it was a great thing for you to do, that there was some shipping that we could see from that position, and you pointed out that was likely to be the sort of view that the Turkish would have of the British fleet as it entered into the mouth, into the straits. And with the modern shipping going up and down, you can actually imagine that, because some of those ships were large, massive ships that we saw, and you just close your eyes and you can see it.
Almost as if you were there.
It's almost as if you were there,
so,
even though you were.
So what you're saying is, if you close your eyes, it's almost as if you can see it.
Yes, even though you can't.
Gotcha. Right. So where we go from there? Well, what we did there is went to Okanaya Fort.
Yeah.
And that's always been a favourite thing of mine. It's grand old. It's unspoiled. A lot of the others have been titivated, to use a technical term, again. But this one hasn't. It's very much as it was. In fact, the only people who seem to have been there is some Turks making a documentary, and another bunch seem to have made a film there.
Yeah.
And they've left some of the old guns there. But the actual old gun positions are quite imposingly big, aren't they? The view. And there was also, on the right-hand side, or on the north side of the fort, there's a 6-inch gun, which we looked at with 1901, breech loading, 6-inch gun, wire wound or something, and it's clearly from a British ship that we'd sold them, a pre-dreadnought. But what did we think about the view? Who could it hit easiest? Was it? We always used to moan about shells crashing down on W Beach, but when you actually looked, it was easier for them to hit somewhere else. Where was that?
The French.
The French on V Beach.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was shooting straight into their back. No.
There's no obstacle. It's a clear line of sight.
Whereas W Beach was more of an angle, and the cliff was in the way a bit, and that was interesting. And it always makes you think. Then we went and looked at
went down the range.
Oh no! First the pretend guns.
Oh, sorry, you're going to talk about those.
Yes, there was much fun. One or two of them were just pathetic, and
one or two of them were moving about in the wind. They're that light. There was quite a good one, which wasn't there last time we were there. It was made of metal.
It was made of metal, and it looked real until you tapped it, and immediately you could tell, as Duddle said, if it fired. Actually, if you put a banger down it would probably blow it up.
Yeah.
But it was metal, and it did look good, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of the fake guns that have been used for the filming, clearly they had some large budgets, because they are quite realistic till you get up close.
Yeah, good stuff, wasn't it?
It's good stuff.
And then we went to the range, and this is where you and Duddles came to the fore. Duddles, a colonel of massive experience in the Royal Military Police. They often had executions, I believe. Rarely a day. They didn't really have rifle range. They just practiced on shooting prisoners, as far as I understand. But you and he dealt with it. And he did what we sort of found the firing point, one of the firing points.
Yeah, there would have been more than one firing.
And the range was we discovered it was 140 yards or 130, 40 yards long, and that was apparently the Turkish measurement was of 100 sausages.
Yeah, the Turkish measurement, they at the time didn't measure in, the same as we did in yards or indeed metres. So it was about 1.5 yards per standard Turkish measurement. So we thought that was about 150 metres for the range from the prone position. But we think they would have fired from behind that and then moved down the range to fire at different lengths. And it still has the butts. Actually, if you cleared out the vegetation, the butts look like they could still work.
Well, certainly the one on the right hand side. And there we had a two-part thing. One, Duddles explained the range, the workings, and how it worked, and then you explained what it was like to be in the butts.
Yeah.
And one thing you said, it's always that it's quite scary.
Yeah. Well, when the round hits the sand, it makes a noise.
And how old were you?
I was 16.
Because you were in which?
I joined a junior leaders battalion when I was 16 years old.
These are the people that are producing the future leaders of the army, I believe.
Yes, I wonder where this is going.
I just wondered how it went for you.
It didn't go that well, really, did it? But and it's hard work, because you can't say, "Oh, I can't lift this, Sergeant. I'm a bit tired." You lift. Then they shoot, and they want to know whether or not they've hit. So you've got to mark it, and then
you said you had to patch up each.
Yeah. So after sort of 3 or 4 rounds, you would patch, and you'd get like a jar of glue, literally a jar of glue and a paintbrush, and coloured paper to stick on. I used to stick the wrong colour on. Deliberately. But it was hard work in the butts.
And scared. Well, not scared, but for a young lad, it was.
Yeah, because you've got to raise the target, and it's done by counterweight, obviously, and it is heavy. But that range, you can see it's a range. That's what it is. And it's obvious that it's a range, and it's obvious that it's butts.
I've only been on a range once, and they gave a demonstration of a German machine gun firing into this, like a sandbank that was behind this, and it was terrifying. The impact of the bullets makes you realise just what it's like, and it's enough to cut you in two, smash you to bits. It's absolutely terrifying, the power of the bullets.
Now from there we went up to at the high point.
It's sort of observation.
It's an OP, isn't it, really?
And it's have the usual fun. Blent has a long route, and I have a shorter route, which is actually perfectly safe, but which people who know me won't follow me.
Yeah, and you very kindly climbed up the roof out the way and allowed others to tell the customers where the barbed wire was. But no, we climbed up there, looked across. Looked across
Will this
to
be
Troy.
in my management assessment?
I'm trying to lift the podcast, Pete.
Sorry,
we looked across to Troy. Ancient Troy.
Yeah,
we had a stirring in our loins.
Yeah.
And
but we remembered that wonderful reading of the poem by James Thompson.
Patrick Shaw Stewart's poem.
Standing in the Trenches, yes. And all the stuff in there about looking across to Troy, and that's what they did. These officers had been educated at Eton, and Alex Churchill had reminded us that so many of them had been taught Latin literature, and when they saw it, they were all almost obsessed with Troy. So that was good fun, wasn't it? And then basically we went back to the coach, didn't we? And then drove back into we had something new in mind, didn't we? Lunch.
Yeah.
And
we stopped at a newly opened, I think, recreational area containing a museum and some forts.
Hamidia Fort.
Which previously, last time I was here, was all boarded up because they were doing the work. Now, we were disappointed in the morning not to see some of the guns out in the fields that we'd seen previously.
Well, that's right. There was a field that had 6 Turkish guns in just past New Cumcarlin. And we used to love it, didn't we? Because it was just au natural, as you said at the time. You said Something you were talking about being au natural anyway. I presume you meant the
I
goats
did.
were in their
So
natural state.
We had a very nice lunch with a good friend of Valence called Murat. And he looked
smashing,
up.
wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
he really looked after us well because Valente had thoughtfully told him we might be going there for coffee. And
we then ordered burger and chips.
3 minutes before we arrived, he said, "Oh, they might be going to order meatballs." But he coped well. It was good, and I'll recommend that as a stopping place. We then went round. We wanted to walk around the walls, and that was a little bit of frustration for some of us because we weren't in the mood for a rather serious museum. You had to walk around the walls. You had to enter the museum.
Yeah, it only cost 15 Turkish lira, which at this moment in time is probably only just over £2.
Yeah,
£2.
So it wasn't much.
But there are other areas there. They've recreated the Dardanelles in a little water feature.
I didn't really notice that.
Roger went off and had a look at the model. So there's things here. There's things for the kids.
That was free.
There's fake aircraft.
Oh, they were. I thought they were quite good. They were an Albatross 1 and an Albatross C. Albatross A1 and a C1, I think, or something like that. C1 and C3. Anyway, the two Albatrosses, weren't they?
Oh, I was looking for a couple of Fokkers myself.
Yeah, you do like a Fokker.
I do. But they didn't have any. So
they have to be Eindecker or you get confused.
I get confused otherwise, yeah. So then we went into the museum. Now, the museum, I think if you were going to give it justice, you would probably need an hour, and we didn't have an hour.
We didn't have an hour, and therefore I think we'll leave reviewing that till later.
Yeah.
The view from the walls was spectacular, wasn't it?
It was.
Looking across to Dardanos and across the Straits and across... I thought that was great. And again, the point about the ships coming up.
Yeah, because you've got 2 or 3 viewing platforms, so you do get slightly different perspective from each one. But it's worth it. At the moment, they were saying they're not getting many groups visit, and they control because of the circumstances of the times we're in.
I think that was because they wouldn't
let more than 5 in at a time, and that was slightly difficult because it meant that I couldn't be anywhere near you. So after I'd legged it up the path 50 or 60 yards, you were still going in the first one as I was leaving.
Yeah, that was very unfortunate.
Well, it's very unfortunate
for both of us.
But yeah, maybe next time we'll give it a bit more time and we'll review it properly.
Yeah, and review it properly because we'll probably do it. Now, so after that, what did we do then?
Well, it was getting late in the day then.
Well, you were tired, you weren't?
I was tired. We got a special evening out with our customers this evening.
Don't tell them about that. They'll all want to come.
So we headed onto the coach and then headed towards the ferry. And again, uneventful, wonderful trip across with a very nice hot cup of coffee. About 20-minute cross to Gallipoli again.
Yes.
And then instead of just coming straight back to the hotel,
we went to Killia Bay.
We did.
That is the first time I've ever remembered its name in a podcast or anything. Killia Bay. Now, what? This is different because surely that's well behind Turkish lines, and the Turks won in 1915 at Gallipoli.
Yeah, but as you know, often forgotten, mainly by the Turks for convenience, the war didn't end in 1915. The war ended in 1918, and the British occupied the whole areas of Helles. All landed at V Beach, and they made a landing.
They landed
there.
on the 10th of November 1918.
Yeah, I think the peace treaty was signed 30th of October.
Sometime around there. I'm weak on that. It may be September. I am sorry. I should remember that.
And I believe that you effectively had an army of occupation there, both the British and French.
Right through, all through Constantinople, all through the main areas.
Not Istanbul.
Sorry, I do apologise, my Turkish friends. Istanbul.
Not Constantinople.
I do apologise, my Greek loving
friends. That reminds me of a song.
Istanbul, Constantinople.
Anyway, that's for another day as well.
Yes.
We told the people that had come along with us, because not everybody had come today, we told the people that had come along with us about the circumstances of 1918, and there was a very pertinent question about how long the British particularly occupied Turkey, and you put the point so eloquently in how we were.
You're about to be sarcastic again.
How can you tell?
It's the tone of your voice and your personality and the way you are and your character. And they're
just my good points. But effectively, we were there till what, 1922?
1922, the Chinac incident. When, to simplify grossly, and it is gross, by this time the Turco-Greek, the Greek War of Independence, Turkish War of Independence, had been fought. Kemal Ataturk, or whatever his name was at the time, had taken control. And he offered the British outside if we didn't get out. I mean, it's simplified to a ludicrous degree. I'm not a historian of this period.
He'd have been Mustafa Kemal then, because
Yes,
he
he would.
became father of the Turks once he was father of the Turks.
Yeah, that would have been it.
That would have been it.
Yeah, that would have been it. You're quite right. Thank goodness I have someone to guide me through the footpaths of life. We left. And this is where I tried to make the point about the wheel of history, just so that Turks realise we're not just laughing. They won in 1915. By 1918, they, as Ataturk himself later
Lost.
No one had ever lost so badly as the Turks lost the First World War. But by 1922, they have regained control of their country, are in charge, and formed the republic that exists to this day.
And at that point, you would say, had won.
And at that point, the wheel of history has changed again. So it depends when you stop the wheel of history. And of course, it's still turning. No one knows what's going to happen in the future. Well,
I do.
You do, yeah, of course.
But I just won't tell you.
Yeah. Well, that's what you say. That's why you win so much money on horses, I believe. Every Saturday
only.
with your uncle.
If only.
So that's it. And what have we got planned for this evening?
Well, this evening it's a special evening. We're going to head into Etiabat and staying at the Cum Hotel, which is a lovely hotel.
It is a lovely
It's
hotel. There are other hotels.
But we just think that it would be good to get into Etiabat and
Meet some friends.
Meet some friends. We're going to meet Bill Sellers, I believe.
We'll have a night out with. That's where Bolent lives, Bolent Yorkmas. So it'd be.
So
great
we're going to go to the Limon restaurant in
That'd be
Etiabat.
nice.
And it'll be lovely, yeah.
And then we're going to the beach bar.
And then hopefully we'll be back here for about 10:30, and then out tomorrow for Anzac 2.
Anzac 2.
The return.
My hand's trembling. I'm looking forward to it. Cheers, Gary.
Cheers, Pete.